Okay, hopefully now you've had time to work on this 9-1 data assignment in groups. And remember, we're eventually going to have a quiz that's kind of similar to this. So make sure to listen up, all right? We talked about some of these things yesterday, but I just really wanted to review them to make sure that we have them down. So first of all, it says write all answers as fractions that are not reduced. I know that's kind of weird for people. We've always been forced to reduce. Now you don't have to reduce on this. Okay, number 1. What is P, patient has TB? So that's in probability notation, and it means what is the probability that a patient has TB? Well, I can see that patient has TB is 380. Okay, so I'm going to type in 380. And out of all of the patients. So I have to add the patients that have TB with the patients that don't have TB. So that's 380 plus 620, which is 1,000. So the answer for this one is 380 out of 1,000. Okay, going on for number 2. What's the probability that someone does not have TB? Well, does not have TB is 620 out of 1,000 people. 620 out of 1,000. Number 3. What's the probability that someone has TB and tested positive? Okay, so this is where you have to kind of follow the flow of the chart, okay? And I can't really write on this one, so it's kind of frustrating. So just kind of listen closely. So a patient has TB and tested positive. So you'd have to follow the patient has TB part of the chart, and then the tested positive part, okay? So that is 361 people have TB and tested positive, okay? 361 people out of how many people? 1,000 people. So this chart tells us that there's 361 people that have TB and tested positive. So that is 361 out of 1,000. Moving on. Getting a little bit tougher. These are the real important ones, guys, the ones with the given line. So remember, this is red, the probability that someone tested negative given that they do not have TB. So I know when I'm reading this that the part that comes after that line is my denominator, okay? So it does not have TB. What's the number for that one? That's 620, right? And then the numerator is tested negative. So out of those 620, so I follow that bottom part of the tree, how many tested negative? That's 558. So tested negative is 558, and my denominator is 620. So 558 out of 620. And that is the answer for that one. Moving on for number 5. What's the probability tested negative given that they do have TB? So I like to think about the denominator first, okay? So my denominator is does have TB. That's 380 people. And of those, how many tested negative? And you can see it actually kind of written next to, you can see it written next to 19, okay? Tested negative slash TB. Tested negative given that they have TB. It would be 19 out of 380. Number 6, tested positive given they do not have TB. What's my denominator? Does not have TB. That's 620. Of those 620, how many tested positive? 62. So that's 62 out of 620. And I think this is our last one here. Probability tested positive given that they do have TB. So does have TB. That is my denominator. That is 380. And of those 380, how many tested positive? 361. So that's 361 out of 380. And that is the last question. So I did make this, see how it says multiple submissions are allowed. If this was a test or a quiz, it would not be, but on this one it is. So I just hit submit and exit assignment. And that shows on my side that I just got 7 out of 7 correct. Okay, so hopefully that helped before we move on today.